Let's take a look at classifying a few examples. Example 1. A researcher finds 1,000 adults over the age of 40 who do not regularly eat oatmeal products and are willing to participate in a study. She randomly assigns 500 of these to a diet that includes a daily breakfast of oatmeal. The other 500 continue their usual breakfast habits. After 6 months, she compares changes in LDL, bad cholesterol levels. Is this study an example of an observational study or an experiment? Well, what is the researcher doing here? Is she simply observing people's behaviors, individuals' behaviors, or is she imposing a treatment of some kind? Well, she's having some of them eat an oatmeal breakfast, and she's having the others follow their usual breakfast habits. So we do have a treatment, which means that this is an experiment. The treatment, of course, is the oatmeal breakfast. The individuals of the study are the 1,000 adults that are over the age of 40. And of course, because this represents some of the individuals of interest, we would call this our sample. What is the population of interest? Well, remember, population is all. So we'll replace the number 1,000 with the word all. And of course, the individuals have not changed. They're adults over age 40. For each individual, for each adult over age 40, what variables are measured? Well, there is only one that is mentioned here. She's going to look at the changes in the LDL cholesterol levels. So our variable is going to be LDL cholesterol level. And of course, which variable, if any, takes on a numerical value? Well, the LDL levels, cholesterol levels, would take on numerical values. They're measured in the amount of cholesterol per a certain amount of blood. So they would indeed take on a numerical value. Let's take a look at example 2. An Associated Press news article, April 20th, 2000 begins, "People hurt in traffic accidents usually recover more quickly when they cannot collect money for their pain and suffering," researchers say in a new study. And the next sentence indicates the source of this study. The next paragraph indicates that the Canadian province of Saskatchewan changed its insurance laws on January 1st, 1995. The old system allowed lawsuits for pain and suffering. The new no-fault system paid for medical costs and lost work, but not for subjective suffering. The study looked at insurance claims filed between July 1st, 1994 and December 31st, 1995 on either side of this change. Sure enough, the new system gave not just fewer claims of whiplash neck injuries, but faster recovery with less pain than the claims that were filed. In this study, is this study an example of an observational study or an experiment? Well, remember, if we're working with an experiment, we have to be able to identify some kind of treatment. Well, there was no treatment given here. We simply observed claims, insurance claims. And so we would have to say that this is an observational study. Now remember, we've got two kinds of observational studies. We have a sample survey and we have a census. This particular observational study happens to be a sample survey. We did not pool all of the injury claims. We only looked at claims from July 1st, 1994 to December 31st, 1995. What are the individuals of this study? Well, the individuals of this study, they're actually things. They're injury claims. Of course, they were filed by people who were injured in an accident of some sort. So the individuals in these studies are injury claims. What is the population of interest? Well, it would be all injury claims. Our sample, we're not given the number of claims that were worked with, but our sample would simply be the claims that were filed between July 1st, 1994 and December 31st, 1995. That would be our sample, which would be the individuals in this particular study. So again, we have the sample and the population. For each individual, For each claim that was filed, what variables were measured? Well, if we look at the results of this observational study, this is actually a comparative observational study. We're taking actually two observational studies here, one before the change, one after the change, and we're comparing the descriptions for these claims between those two groups. If we look at the results, the new system gave not just fewer claims of whiplash neck injuries, so apparently one of the variables was the type of injury. We've certainly singled out one type of injury here in the results, but it also produced faster recovery, so recovery time was one of the variables, and less pain. So amount of pain is also a variable. Finally, which variables, if any, take on numerical values? Well, type of injury, we're going to have to describe that in words. Recovery time will be a numerical value, either the number of months, days, years, weeks. We're not sure of the unit, but it's certainly going to be some measurement of time. The amount of pain, now that looks like that might be a numerical value, but most likely the amount of pain was measured on something that we call a Likert scale. So on a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 means no pain and 10 means excruciating pain, rate your level of pain for this particular injury. So that would not be a numerical value that would measure or count anything. It's simply a way of saying I have no pain, or I have a lot of pain, or I have a moderate amount of pain. In the homework problems that you will be doing for this lesson, you will be looking at similar examples, similar studies, and identifying the individuals of the study, the sample, the population, the type of study, the variables, just like we've done in these two examples.